let's remind everyone what exactly is at stake Tuesday night here in New Hampshire. Republicans are set to award the next 22 delegates in the GOP race for the nomination. Delegates, remember, are awarded proportionally in New Hampshire, and a contender has to earn at least 10% of the overall vote to be awarded delegates. Anyone who hits double digits essentially will get something coming out of New Hampshire. The eventual Republican Party presidential nominee needs to win at least 1,215 of the 2,429 delegates that are up for grabs. According to CBS News estimates so far, lest you need a reminder, it is early. It is, because former President Donald Trump leads the pack with just 20 delegates, one in Iowa. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis picked up 8 and will hold on to them despite, for now, dropping out. Nikki Haley earned 7, and Vivek Ramaswamy, who also dropped out, has won 3. For more on what to watch for and how to watch for it in New Hampshire, let's turn to CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Polling, Anthony Salvanto, who joins us from New York. Anthony, when, remind us, does voting begin in New Hampshire? Because there are multiple answers to this. And in your view, where in the state are places to watch for signals of who's going to be winning this?
Hey, Ed, and that's a great lead-in. We got delegate math. We are getting into the political wonkery of all of this, right? And I will take you even further into the weeds in a second. Look, famously, there's a town of Dixville Notch that starts voting at midnight. But most of this, to answer your question, will be polls closing, all of them, by 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. But I want to then break into this because I want to show you what we're going to be watching for at the desk. And if I start by showing you the results of the 2016 primary where Donald Trump won big, well, it's not going to tell you that much. This is a very red map because he sort of won going away there. But I'm going to show you a map of the 2022 Senate primary in New Hampshire. I told you we were going to get into the weeds here, but if I can't do it on America Decides, where can I, right? New Hampshire does this by town. And there were a couple of candidates here. Don Bolduc, who was running on, if you will, a more MAGA platform, talked about his view that the election was stolen. But Chuck Morse was the more establishment candidate, had more of that establishment Republican backing. And I think this is the race that if Nikki Haley is going to do okay, this is the race that's probably going to have the best correlation there I'm going to be watching. So the areas in green, and I'll zoom in here, Ed, a little bit. The areas here in and around Manchester, a lot of these are kind of exurbs or further suburbs of Boston. Maybe a little bit better there, whereas there's going to be areas as we get a little bit into Nashua, we get a little bit further aside here, that was all more purple, that was all a little bit more, say, Trump, if you will, or could be more Trump. That's one of the things that I think we're going to be watching. And the fun part of this, Ed, finally, is that New Hampshire does this, as you can see, by town. So you get a lot of really micro data, and you really walk through and parse it, Ed.
In 30 seconds or less, remind us, Anthony, why the influence of undeclared voters, independent voters, matters so much in New Hampshire.
Well, on the file and in the exit polls, you can see that the electorate's going to be about a third. I put 36% up there on the board, about a third of unaffiliated voters coming in. I know there's 73,000 who voted in 2016 that are still on the file today and still unaffiliated. They could have an influence, but I'm going to button it up with this. You still have to do well among Republicans. They still make up the bulk of the Republican primary, Ed.
So to button it up, 36% of those showing up tomorrow are expected to be independents, and that's the ball game. That's where Nikki Haley's hoping to draw some of her support.
If history is a guide, we'll see what happens. Maybe she gets bigger turnout of that. That number goes up, it probably is to her benefit. But that's about the ballpark. You get in the high 1/3, maybe you get close to 40%. If it goes over 40%, she's probably gaining ground at least, yeah.
All righty. Anthony Salvanto, no decisions will be made by CBS without consulting you, so we'll be looking for you tomorrow. Thank you again, as always.
Indeed.
And rest up. It's going to be a long night.